Hello, everyone. I'm here this month to do, I think what I want to do is focus on just a flip through of my nice chunky TN that I completed throughout January and February. So those of you who are like following this from the Cocoa Daisy perspective, you're going to see products used from the kit that arrived in December and the one that arrived in January and the one that arrived in February, which takes us into Orchard Path, which is the one that arrived in February but is really March focused. But I thought what I would do besides just do a flip through, I don't want it to be really long and take a lot of time to talk about each spread. So I thought what I'd do is I'd just talk about where I did stamping and kind of keep that as my focus. And this Allie Edwards is sponsoring or, leading us through a stamp week on Instagram and on her blog, and I know other people are participating, and I also use a lot of Allie stamps. You'll only see one in here, this particular project, but this is going to be filled with Cocoa Daisy stamps and other stamps, and I just wanted to show you how, for me, it's almost second nature to grab a stamp. I love stamping as part of my storytelling, so I'm going to do that. I also wanted to say a little bit about my setup and how it worked, because I tried new things in the new year, and so these are the traveler's notebooks that I had in my overall notebook. I had sermon notes along with my scrapbooking notebook, and then I had a sketchbook. What I focused on, I have a little collage here of words related to art journaling and experimenting. And I kind of just took an approach in my sketchbook of birds or animals that I've been reading about or interested in. I'm teaching a nature course this semester, among other things, and so that's right there in my TN setup, and I love that. I love having it there so I can kind of flip through, so I can grab it, do some things. I did a color challenge with watercolor, and some of those are in here. I did a personal maps challenge, and that involves some fancy stitching, and so that's in here. So it's kind of nice for me to have this new format where I'm keeping my art and my art experiments right in with my scrapbooking. I also do Bible journaling, so devotionals have been living in this book with me, so that when I do my sermon notes or my Bible journaling, I have it right here, the one for the current month. Okay, so that's the setup, and so here's the flip through of January and February 2020. You probably will remember some of these pages from the blog, but it's kind of nice to see them together, I think. And this is my table of contents in the back. I just typed up a title for each one. And in case you're wondering, there are 19 in my way of doing it, which is about as chunky as is comfortable. And I also wanted to show you that I often use a booklet stapler, but this time I used a booklet stitch, and it's always hard for me to find the middle of, okay, here it is. I used just a bookbinding technique and what's called an awl, where you punch holes and then just run the thread through. And my boyfriend, who's like super good at bookbinding, walked me through it, and I'm hoping that I've got it and can do it on my own. But you can see how neat it is, and very simple, and yet it holds it together securely. What I'll do with this now is archive it in one of those TN binders with the metal bar. If you're familiar with those, I can maybe show that in another video. Okay, so back to the walkthrough. Typical, I'm not being very linear here. Okay, so stamping. I love this little stamp from the remember names, Love Notes kit, with the directional leaf branch, and it's fun, I think, when they have a die cut and a stamp. So that's part of the stamping here. Love this little stamp, which I did in a couple different colors of ink. You'll see, like, I'm great with black ink and I use it all the time, but I also love color, you know me. So a lot of my stamping is in color. On most of them, you'll see some messy date stamping. I'm a messy, lazy stamper, as opposed to the really perfectionistic ones, just so you know. There are just different styles of stamping. Okay, this one's called 80s Nostalgia. Not any stamping on this page. Okay, this one is called Reflect, and it tells a little story of the holidays. And here I used to stamp up in this little cluster. It just said, "This is us." and kind of goes with what goes on in the journaling. Here I used a stamp. This is a Studio Calico stamp, along with the title, to make the title Delightful Bees Wrap, which is about this like waxy cotton paper I've been using to wrap my lunch. And okay. Here, the XOXO you'll recognize from the Love Notes kit, and repeat stamping. I want to do more of that. I don't do enough of it, and I love it, which is just like generational stamping, and you go on top, and that creates a kind of title for this spread, which is Date Night. Again, that's from the February Love Notes kit. Here, I told you I was going to try to like repeat some of the sketches that I had used in the past. I said that in my last video. So here's a great example of it. This is a Cocoa Daisy sketch that I really liked. And so I used it again with a bunch of, chipboard from the kit, that sort of thing. There's not a lot of stamping on this except for the date. Here's one about my art. And so this stamp goes back to last year from Cocoa Daisy, but I love it. Live, Love, Create. Again, it made a great title. Just stamped it on one of the labels from the kit. And another thing I've been doing this in these couple months is using more craft paper, because I really like it. I tend to these days like sort of things that were popular back in the day in scrapbooking. How we circle back. Okay, so this also uses the craft, and it uses the gorgeous Orchard Path kit, so you can see the embellishment and the sparkle dots from that kit. The stamping here, there's this really sweet little date stamp that I put on a label. It just says date and then gives you a place to write it in. That's from Orchard Path, and so is this one that says Live Your Best Life. Here I stamped in brown ink, which seemed to go with the craft and with the vibe of the colors. And the little leaf, I think you've seen this in some of the other designers using this as a kind of small scatter embellishment, so stamps can be used that way too. Okay, this is the center. This is a top 5 favorite things to have with afternoon tea. No stamping there. This one was fun. This kind of came from my personal mat making. I used these tea bag, whatever you call these things that hang off of a tea bag, and sewed them together. And they all have little sayings about reading. And this was a gift from my brother for Christmas. It's called Novelties. So the focus is on reading and tea, which is like what I'm all about. It also says bag ladies. So I used a paper bag to kind of continue that craft paper theme. So stamping here and here. And so this is just a journal block, but you can always dress it up with a little bit of a phrase or a shape or design stamp. Okay, this is a page that I worked with a grid design. I also worked with mixed media. So I've got some painted paper, some texture paste over paint, and I went back to the earlier kit from last year that had the kind of mixed media feel to it. I think it was January 2019, for those of you who've been longtime Cocoa Daisy subscribers. And so you'll see the details that I added with some pink stamping to go with the colors. And then that face, which I love, is so perfect for this, right, for my corgi, is from the February kit from Love Notes. So that's called My Love Bug. Here's like some of you might get like just a big stamp subscription, for instance, from Studio Calico, as I do, and that gives you lots of opportunities to play with larger stamps or theme stamps or stamps that work together. This page is a great example of that, a currently page. But you could definitely do the same thing with all different kinds of stamps from different companies. This is just one example of how it works. The other thing is here, this shirt color is sort of part of the story, and it's also very kind of vibrant. So I picked up that color in ink and, kind of carried it throughout to keep the eye moving. Same thing with a little bit of washi tape that does that. Little Women. This is a page I made with Orchard Path. You can see all the beautiful papers and embellishments again. I have a clip here, but this opens up, flips up, so you can read the journaling. Oh, one other thing I wanted to point out besides craft, I've been using tissue paper throughout this TN and typing on it or using it underneath photos. You'll see it as we go on. Love the tags in the Orchard Path memory keeping add-on. So you see them here, and then here's the stamping. The kits include these wonderful little tiny phrase stamps, and this is just moments of note, which is perfect for this page about going to see the movie Little Women, finding my the book that I read as a child, and these are the pretty end papers in that book. Nothing in the TN for me is in order. I jump around. It's just that it's all January, February created. So this is the new year, and a page that I did using the Noted kit, the first one, the Cocoa Daisy January kit. And so you'll recognize these really great like pockets. This stamp, though, is an Ellie Edwards stamp from my stash from long ago, and it seems so perfect and went really well with the Cocoa Daisy kit. Current life lens, positive, neutral, very positive at this stage for me. I love New Year's. Okay. This was another another layout where I used the pocket and the paper. And I should say that I take my notebooks apart and put them back together. So you'll recognize the Traveler's Notebooks from Cocoa Daisy, but you'll see that they're kind of all together in this notebook. And I'm really happy with that method because otherwise I have too many incomplete notebooks. And I really love sort of a completionist. I really love finishing them. So this year, that's kind of been my goal. Here's another great example of one of those small phrase stamps. It's a good day to have a good day. And it's just perfect for this silly little layout about a mouse cookie that I enjoyed. Okay, here's another January one made with the page that I think a lot of us really loved with these big circles from the Noted kit. This one I probably talked about in a video before, but it's about monograms. I think there's no real stamping here, so every now and then I don't use my stamps. More often than not, I do. Here is a recent page I made, also with Orchard Path. You can see those beautiful peachy colors. Here's another example of me just grabbing this tissue paper that you just get to wrap a present. And this has a little gold flecks in it, and was pretty and fun to work with. Went with the kit really well. Let's see, I think the messy date stamping is the only stamping I did here, but I really like this soft green, so I used an ink that kind of picked up that color. This is about weekend walks with Tim and with my dog Hazel. Okay, I think we're about there. This is the last page in the booklet, and ever since as a kid, I've loved African violets and have had them in my living space. I just love how fuzzy the leaves are. And so this is one that was purchased during this time period. And yeah, so it's a really simple page. I pulled little stickers from the Orchard Path kit. This paper, I think, is from the Noted kit. It's from a Traveler's Notebook early on. And then, of course, the great die cuts and labels that you get in the Cocoa Daisy kits are here, including this round circular one, which is from Orchard Path, and then using up some stickers from earlier in the year, and then using this stamp from the February kit to make it part of my title. So I hope that gives you an idea of how you can actually make a whole notebook if that's the kind of approach you want to take, and that you can combine the Traveler's Notebook kits from different months and certainly use the stamps in all sorts of ways. So thanks for joining me today, guys. I'll be back with another video probably before too long, and probably like Orchard Path and Project Life. So stay tuned.